A condition that shows up mainly in the workplace is something we've probably all felt but never want to express or admit. It's called imposter syndrome. And Matt Martinson is a mental health counselor here in the Quad Cities, here to speak about this dirty little secret that many people have and don't want to speak of. Matthew, is this something that's ever crossed your path personally?
Today or
Today.
just in general?
Yeah, right. Most of us have
I
felt
think
this way.
imposter syndrome is something we all deal with on our own levels, and I'm no exception, and my clients are no exception either.
Matt, what is your best explanation as to what this is for people saying they've never heard of it and they don't really know what we're talking about here?
Imposter syndrome is very much intertwined with perfectionism. But when we're talking about imposter syndrome, this is a belief system that says that the things that are good that come in my life have come by chance or accident, certainly not by my own doing, and that I hold this view of other people that they're going to judge me as a fraud, a fake, or someone who is essentially an imposter in my role or position in life.
And so often I can understand how that would show up in the workplace, but in other areas too, what would you say?
Parenting is one for sure. So thinking that at some point in our lives, this switch will flip and we'll just become the parents that we witnessed growing up, hopefully the best parts of those parents. But really holding ourselves to ideals that don't fit the nature of reality. You know, reality is never that simple that we go from not being a parent to being a parent. That's a gradual, slow process that we grow into. Additionally, marriage, showing up as a partner and building in a strong and successful marriage. This can be where imposter syndrome rears its ugly head again.
So when we're talking about the workplace, you think is there anything managers can do, leadership in the workplace to help people maybe overcome this? Do you think sometimes it kind of starts at the top, or is there not anything anybody else can help us with? This is all inner work.
You know, I think it can be both individual and collective. I think workplace culture matters extremely. Having healthy competition, but collaboration as well. Maintaining regular contact between team members and from leadership to the team itself. You know, one thing imposter syndrome hates, one thing that really gets in the way of feeling like an imposter is connecting with other people who are maybe mentors, maybe peers, people who can normalize some of the things that you're experiencing and remind you that they're just as human and flawed as you are.
That's good, because I think often we look at other people and say, oh, she's got it all together, or he knows exactly what he's doing, right? And so we think, well, I'm more insecure than that inside, so somehow he's doing something better than I am.
Yeah, so, I could never be like that.
Right.
When those people are feeling much the same that we are usually.
So what are some other ways that we can do, some things we can do individually to combat these feelings in ourselves?
So some things that I work with my clients on is, first and foremost, Dan Siegel's idea, if you can name it, you can tame it. And I think it's kind of a cutesy way to say it, but there's a lot of truth to this, that we've got to discover what are these limiting beliefs? What are these ideas that have convinced us that we are somehow other from the people around us? So starting by just being able to identify those stories that get in our way. What we practice in our lives grows stronger. So being able to practice acting courageously, acting as if we do have a place here, even if we don't feel like we do.
Naming it and taming it. I like that. And maybe even naming it to others. You mentioned the connections with people. That's how we find out that, hey, everybody kind of feels like this. So maybe we just ought to talk to each other more about things like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I see no harm that could come in connecting with one another more and talking. I'm a little biased as a therapist, but I think in general the world would be a better place with that. So yeah, connecting with a positive mentor, somebody who has been to places you have not and can normalize some of those feelings, and then being able to connect with your peers, people who are going through it with you, who can share what they're feeling.
So finally, Matt, in your practice, Do you ever deal with people who are just suffering from this thing, or maybe it branches out into other areas? It could maybe turn into a depression or an anxiety just from this imposter feeling you have.
Yeah, you bet. So what I deal with most, I say, more than syndromes or diagnoses, is I deal with belief systems. Belief systems that sometimes can be extremely helpful. They propel us to do brave things even though we're feeling terrified. And sometimes belief systems that just are limiting and hold us back. Sometimes they're inherited belief systems. Sometimes they're acquired through our experiences in life. And so, absolutely, when we're dealing with things like imposter syndrome, perfectionism, high levels of anxiety, then we work on reconstructing those beliefs so that they are more helpful in our day-to-day life.
Matt Martinson, QC counselor. There's all your info right there. We invite people to go on Facebook for all your events and things that are coming up real soon. Matt, it was great to have you here today. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks again, Paula.